Like, that's the worst possible thing. Like,
I'm kissing in front of the soda. No.
It's unhygienic. Okay, so, hi.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm cracking on. Any little obstacles stepping in my way, I'm just powering through. And no, overall, I've had a pretty good day. How are you doing?
Awesome. Also pretty good. There's I'm in that like buzzy problem-solving adrenaline mode where there's a bunch of stuff happening at work that it's unexpected, like crises, and it's just got this like momentum going that I can keep doing it. It's okay. Everything's under control. I got it. But I gotta keep moving, because the second I stop, it's just gonna be like,
yeah.
done. So that's where I'm at today. I have an energy that is all kinds of wacky. Hopefully that's going to make it a fun episode, because it's a really fun episode of the show. So who are we anyway? We are the Belladonna Watch Club. Come get cozy with us while we dig into iconic shows and movies that one of us has never seen before. So the rules are that somebody is coming with fresh eyes and somebody has already seen it.
Yeah. And we might throw in one that we've actually both seen from time to time. You know, just to keep the good vibes going.
Neither of us. Or neither of us have seen.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've been wondering, actually, like, should we have like a live review special or something? You know,
that could be fun.
A reaction special. I don't know.
Yeah, just live stream and see what happens. Yeah.
No.
Could be fun. So we are watching Gilmore Girls season 1. This is episode 7, Kiss and Tell. I'm Lisa. I've seen it.
And I'm Jenny, and I am the fresh eyes this week.
All right. So this episode, Rory gets her first kiss, and it's apparently a big dramatic thing because she does not tell Lorelai, which I guess in their mother-daughter relationship, that is a big faux pas. I think it's pretty normal in every other mother-daughter relationship.
I think so.
But in the world of Gilmore Girls, Rory not telling Lorelai caused some issues, and then Lorelai decides to invite Dean to movie night at their house. So that's
Dean, of course, being the lucky recipient, or the instigator, in fact, of this first kiss. In case you thought it might be anybody else, it's not Tristan. Thank God.
Oh goodness, that would be a whole other episode. So, what did you think?
I really enjoyed that this episode was sort of. It felt a bit like a tighter focus. I do like the ones that are sort of spread out and we get like the huge cast, but I really liked that it was mostly focused around the two Gilmores, Dean, and like Lane, essentially. Like Lane shows up, but that felt like the focus. I think Luke shows up and a couple of the others, but anything to do with like first kiss and like early romance and feelings and stuff, I just, obviously it's so exciting and so entertaining. And God, I only wish that my first kiss was like Rory's. Can we discuss first kisses here? Like, do you feel comfortable talking about your first kiss?
Oh boy.
You don't have to.
Well, it's just that I was an early bloomer, let's say.
Some people were.
Really early. Like, I was chasing boys in kindergarten. I don't know if I'm prepared for this conversation.
That's fine. You don't have to.
You don't have yours?
To. We're safe. Well, I have 2. Because I have my first technical one and my first real one. But the story about my first technical one is a lot more interesting than my first real one. Well, because my first technical one was for a play. And you were there.
I was.
My first kiss was on dress rehearsal of our senior drama class play. It was Cinderella. And Marco, wherever you are out there, shout out to Marco for being my Prince Charming and for being my first kiss. It was in front of my entire drama class. And also the guy who would end up being my first real kiss, he was in the room too. He was like the other end of the hall. But my first kiss was to a sweaty upper lip. He had his costume was like nasty, like polyester velvet, and there was like stage lights on us. It was a lot, but I do find it quite funny that we waited until dress rehearsal to even kiss in this scene.
It was Cinderella. So our Miss Jenny here was the leading lady. She was Cinderella, whereas I was woman. That was my role, which, chorus, fine, important to the show. Totally into that.
Vital.
All the other characters were like woman with baby, woman with whatever. I was just nondescript woman. I didn't even have any kind of like indicator. I'm just, hijacking your first kiss story to complain about that, Mr. CrossFit. Thank you very much. But
your character did have some story. Your character had a husband. She was complaining, I wish I hadn't married Sam. Right? That was you, wasn't it?
I honestly forgot that I even had that line.
I remember.
That makes sense then, that I've just been reduced to the wife of Sam. Like, that is just woman, wife of Sam. That wasn't even in the, that could have been her name. But we were all supposed to be in tableau at that point. It was supposed to be, everyone was there dancing and waltzing or whatever it was. And then we're all supposed to freeze. And in this dress rehearsal, everybody knew it was your first kiss. So everybody's like craning. It's like the first tableau scene in the history of tableau. Also, we're like 16, 17. I think I would put my first real kiss in like grade 4. And that was my first real kiss. There were lots of kisses before that.
We all play in different ways. Who knows?
Disney had a big influence on my life. And it was like constant, like princess life. So, and what do the princesses do in the movies? They faint and they get kissed by men without consent. So apparently that's the role models that I was introduced to in my lifetime. So
we've all come a long way.
Yes. So Rory goes to Dosey's market. She and Dean make little eye contact, and he goes to meet her over by the ant spray and the cornstarch.
Yes. The clever girl picking up some cornstarch.
Yes, she said for all of her thickening needs. and then Dean, what is it that Lorelai calls him? Like a Lothario? Lothario Dean, who is just like so sweet and nice and not like pushy, swoops in for a little peck on the mouth. How sweet. Sweet little Dean. And then Rory says, thank you. Thank you. And
of course
books it.
She just bolts, cornstarch in hand.
Oh my God. Creating quite the little reputation for herself. Shoplifting, making out at Dosey's market. And goes straight to Lane's and is like, Lane, I was kissed.
And unfortunately, Mrs. Kim overhears. It doesn't give it away that she hears, but she does. And bless Lane. Oh, she's so sweet. She's such a fanatic of this. She's so excited to hear, how did it happen? What happened? What is this? Tell me more. Bless her. She says, I have to get some dumb, ugly friends. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You feel a bit left out sometimes when you're the one who things aren't happening to. But obviously we're not going to tell Lorelai because she already doesn't seem to like Dean. Like, she's already keeping it quiet. I'm like, can't tell her. Yeah,
well, like her gut reaction is, I have to tell my mom. And then she's like, but wait, I can't tell my mom because my mom got all weirded out about, before when I brought up Dean or when Dean came up. And Lane tries to kind of talk her down from that. She's like, well, you were saying that you weren't going to go to school because of him. Like, I think this is okay. This is different. Like, you're doing fine. Everything's okay. And Rory just panics. And it's like, I absolutely can't tell my mom. And then, Mrs. Kim comes in. She's like, kissing. Who are you kissing? And Lane is like, Jesus, mama.
Rory and Dean are discussing pop versus soda. What is it for you?
Oh, it's Pop.
Pop.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's just it's whatever the brand is or whatever it's trying to be closest to. So it's Coke or Sprite or Pepsi, but all in general would be like fizzy drink. But you typically wouldn't even talk about it. But pop and soda, no, I wouldn't say either of those. What I love about them in this scene, so like this is the first scene of the episode. We do have like the pre-credits scene, but this is the first scene of the episode, so we get right into they've kissed. But their dynamic now, compared to a few episodes ago, is so much more like on the level and so much more flirtatious, like right off the bat. So even with her, with the cornstarch and my thickening needs, there's still a little bit of backbone being built there of her like, okay, I can joke around and it's not me being totally awkward and stupid and blubbling out saying I have gum, like it's really fun to see that. And that maintains, I think, throughout the episodes.
Yep. She's definitely relaxing around him. Not relaxed, overall, but she's a little bit more on board, still out of her element, but is less spooked, I think.
How do you feel about his approach to actually kissing her? He grabs some soda or pop, one can in each hand, and he hides it behind his back. And he's just like, "Oh, you need to guess which one. If you guess which one I have in each hand, then you get free soda." And she doesn't even bother to guess, or she starts to, but he catches her off guard and then kisses her straight away by surprise. So, how do you feel about that? Is it cute? Is it weird? I don't know.
I think it's cute.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think it's very bold of him to do it in a public place.
At work on the clock. Like
yeah. Yeah.
It is, but I also think that he knows that she's so like bumbling and out of her depth that like he needs to go for it. Otherwise, like she'll be like, bah, and just I feel like if he would like slowly go in for it, she'd be like, oh, gotta go, and then just bolt. Like she's a little fawn. She's gone. Like
she's the deer.
Oh, there we go. Rory is the deer who hit the car. I think he was just like trying to get that first kiss, like just get it done. Just yeah. I think it was cute. It's nice because he like wasn't putting her in a position where he'd maybe want to take it a bit further. Like it was just like the icebreaker kiss. So yeah, I think it's cute.
Yeah, it's a low pressure, low stakes. She's got an escape route. She's fine. But we can't tell Lorelai, and because what's Lorelai doing right now? She's in a tiz. She's trying to fix the fridge, and definitely not in a state to chat about sensitive topics like boys and kissing. She herself says that she's feeling crabby. So Rory almost feeling like, oh, maybe can I No, I can't tell her. I can't tell her. I'm not going to tell her now. That's for sure. She's not in a state.
And so this isn't the first time that we've seen Rory withhold information from Lorelai because of Lorelai's mood. And sometimes it's because Lorelai's been really happy and she doesn't want to bring her down. Sometimes it's because, in this case, she's cranky from being on hold with all of these different fridge companies because it's making the sound and she doesn't want to make the sound again. That kind of sucks. Like not being able to just tell your parent something that you really want to tell them for fear of their reaction, which is like, I remember being 16. Like you don't really know what to expect, and something you're happy about isn't necessarily something that your parents are going to be happy about. I think Miss Lorelai Gilmore should be happy that the only thing her daughter is doing at 16 is kissing boys in supermarkets. If I'm being perfectly frank. Considering the situation that Lorelai herself was in at 16. So I think there is a bunch of overreacting going on from both sides, like an overreaction in terms of fear of the reaction and an overreaction in general, which is like, I guess it makes sense that Rory is hesitant, but it just gets really awkward between them.
Yeah.
Like, and it shouldn't be.
I have my theories about what's going on in their heads, but we'll get to that. Rory, once she arrives home, has sort of calmed down a bit from the initial panic from the kiss And instead, the red-handed felon, Rory, she admires her plunder, the cornstarch. She pops it on her dresser as if like it's a little trophy.
Yeah,
this girl.
It's her little treasure. Yeah. In the first scenes, actually, the very, very first scene that we just completely glossed over is them talking about their underwear.
That's right.
So they're walking down the street, and we see this is the Gilmore Girls, the show for me. The fall decor. It's autumn. It's like Thanksgiving. They've set the scene. There are leaves and pumpkins and like gourds, and there's just so much stuff and decorations everywhere, and it's kitschy and it's amazing. This is like my dream. I love it. It is like quintessential autumnal vomit, basically, like fall barfed on the town, and it is gorgeous and fun. And like you can't get away from it. Literally, the opening scene is like, "Did you know?"
Yes. Hey, it's Thanksgiving. We've got Miss Patty with the dance students doing a Thanksgiving dance, and oh my gosh, there are these tiny children in costumes. Some of them are dressed, as the classic Native Indians. Some of them dressed, pilgrim, all the traditional problematic visuals of Thanksgiving. We've got gourds and pumpkins, and someone's dressed up as corn. Two of them, I actually paused, two of them are dressed up not just as pumpkins, but they're jack-o'-lanterns. So my theory is that they're left over from Halloween. So they were their Halloween costumes, and now they're, reusing them. And it's just so sweet. I love that like they're into it. They're invested. They're gonna be dancing their little hearts out for Thanksgiving. It's so sweet. While Lorelai and Rory are having this chat about not underwear. Lorelai is not wearing underwear. She happens to be walking through the town square.
In a short skirt, I think. And then they get to Luke's, and we meet Taylor Dosey. Is this our first time meeting Taylor Dosey?
I think so, because I didn't recognize this man. He might show up at one point, but
we have Taylor Dosey, the mastermind of the festivities and the decorations and just like the overall town vibe. That's on Taylor Dosey. He is trying to convince Luke to put up some fall decorations in front of the diner or in the diner or just anywhere. I think he wouldn't care where the decorations end up as long as they were somewhere. And Luke is just like, absolutely not happening. Get out of my face. Get out of my diner. I totally get where Luke is coming from, and I'm also on Luke's side. But literally just to get Taylor off his back, like just put a wreath on the door. Like just do something. You don't even have to see it. Like, I mean, we love Luke. Luke is who he is. We're not going to come down on Luke for having his preferences and setting his boundaries. I just think he makes life very difficult for himself.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get coffee and muffins, and Luke is arguing with Taylor, and no one's paying attention. So they just start helping themselves. As they do, and they're like, "Hey, I'm not wearing any underwear." Like they even say it straight up, and he's just like, "What? Nothing? Like, I'm not getting any response here." But then on the way out, Luke says something like, "Watch out for
sit
drafts.
on a cold bench."
Oh yeah, don't sit on a cold bench.
I love it. A rare moment, probably, of Lorelai and Rory not being served or getting any kind of instant attention going into Luke's. It's very rare, I think. But also, let's look at this compared to a previous episode when Suki went behind the bar.
Yep, I was just going there.
Yeah, and this time Lorelai is just helping herself to the coffee, pouring the coffee, grabbing the cup, and the only thing that Luke comes in and stops her on is use tongs to pick up the muffin. That's it. He doesn't yell at her. We don't get scary dad Luke. we get in the midst of, I'm busy doing something else, but I'm going to talk to you gently, Luke.
Which is really telling for how intensely he feels about his conversation with Taylor, because Luke and Taylor are oil and water. They are like the ultimate. No, they're not even frenemies. They're just like constantly at odds. And this is our first taste of the Taylor Dosey Luke dynamic. And
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So buckle up. So we know that Mrs. Kim heard the conversation with Rory and Lane. Yes. Although, like you said, she doesn't let on. She just kind of like ignores it and goes about her business, which doesn't necessarily seem like a Mrs. Kim thing to do. So you'd expect more comments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we are kind of led to believe that she didn't hear it until Lorelai comes in to pick up a chair that's been sitting there for 6 weeks. She's like, who buys a chair and leaves it for 6 weeks?
Fair enough that Mrs. Kim is ticked off. She's not okay with her leaving this behind. Lorelai looks at it and she's like, oh, it's bigger than I remember. And Mrs. Kim, she says, it's been 6 weeks. Maybe it grew.
Yeah. And yes, every character in this show has their own form of wit. And so then she kind of gets into Rory's business and tells Lorelai that Rory had her kiss. And I have a little clip of this. I have a little clip.
Lane is a young, impressionable girl. She doesn't need to hear about your daughter's kissing.
Are the lids tight on the paint remover? Because you're sounding a little loopy to me.
Loopy? What's loopy?
Rory's not kissing anybody.
Yes, she is. She came in here and told Lane she kissed a boy in the grocery store. The grocery store, where we buy our food.
This...
Like, that's the worst possible thing. Like,
they're kissing in front of the soda. No!
It's unhygienic.
Oh, dear, what a reputation now, like you said.
I know. Like, again, heaven forbid a 16-year-old has a very, like, in the theme of this, like, puritanical kiss, like a little peck on the lips. And heaven forbid that happens where we buy our food.
I want to talk about Lorelai's reaction, like her immediate reaction to when she finds this out, because it's not what I expect, but it makes sense. I'd almost expect her to react with a, what? Oh my God, she didn't tell me, with anger, with total disbelief and shock. But her reaction is soft and thoughtful. Her energy is sort of, she keeps it under control. And it's like it's sort of running through her mind like, oh, but she didn't tell me. And instead of anger, it's curiosity and concern. And but I appreciate that that's how she reacted.
Because initially it's disbelief, because if she doesn't know, it didn't happen. And then when she mentions that it was at the grocery store, she's like, oh, I know who works at the grocery store. I saw him at her party, and now this is actually plausible. Okay. That still is it's bizarre to me, because if they are such good buddies, I just don't understand the need for concern. Like, maybe the need, like, the concern is that, like, she didn't tell her.
I think that's what it is. I think it's that it's starting to become a pattern, that there is something that she's seeing hints of that are major in her life that she's not part of, or not being kept up to date with. Especially now, if Rory's going to school and spending her whole school day in another town, she feels even further away, and she's going to school with kids that Lorelai doesn't know. Whereas before, Stars Hollow, obviously so much smaller town, she could easily stop by the school partway through the day, and I think she would feel that much closer. And so there's now so much of Rory's life, unimportant things and also big things, that she's not immediately up to date on.
Yeah, so that's fair. Yeah, I could see that. To me, it feels like a little bit later on, when she ends up stalking Dean at the grocery store, that she's upset about, like, the kiss itself, because she's like, that's who did it. That's the guy. And so she's like trying to do her own, like, digging and getting the information kind of, like, in her own way. And it just still seems like she's concerned about, like, the kiss itself having happened. And it's just so weird to me, because Rory isn't a child. Like,
yeah.
But Lorelai does try to get the information from Rory initially. So Rory and Lane are wearing these sweet little pilgrim outfits, and they're out like raising money. And is it money or food? It's the Horn of Plenty.
Yes, yeah, they're running some kind of a table, like a donation table, I think, at the Thanksgiving festival in the square.
Yeah, and so they're going over the details of the kiss. They just look so cute. And Lorelai is at Luke's, and they meet up for a quick, I think it's just a quick break. And Lorelai immediately is like, oh, I thought we were supposed to have lunch. Like, she wants to like really just like spend the time and connect.
Yes. We get to learn about Lane's first kiss, her forehead kiss from Patrick Cho. Lucky girl, she gets kissed on the forehead by a guy who, and I'm going to quote, who truly believes rock music leads to hard drugs. Poor sweet girl.
Oh,
just the other
Patrick
week she was
Joe.
just the other week she was skanking to Rancid in her friend's bedroom before school. Like, oh. But Lane proves herself to be an awesome friend, doing some digging and some research about Mr. Dean here. We learned some things from. Have we met Todd? Apparently, no. Dean has a friend named Todd who Lane has spoken to. I don't know. But we learned some things about Dean, particularly what kind of music he listens to. He listens to Nick Drake, Liz Phair, and The Sugar Plastic, two of which I'm familiar with, and the other I have no idea.
I don't know who any of them are.
Well, Nick Drake, I very much enjoyed Nick Drake. Nick Drake, I think, suits Dean. Well, gives us some insight. So Nick Drake was an acoustic folk singer, folk bluesy, but mostly folk singer in the 70s. And he has quite a sad story. He is someone who did not make it to age 27. He died from an accidental overdose of antidepressants. But his music is absolutely beautiful, I think. It's very, folky, very emotional and poetic and very, very introspective, often quite heavy lyrics, often focusing on depression and emotions. And I think that says a lot about Dean. I don't know what it says about Dean, but to me it's saying something about Dean, that he really likes Nick Drake and actually mentions it, finds a CD later on in the episode. Liz Phair is just like awesome rocker feminism chick, just fantastic. And The Sugar Plastic, I do not know. Fill in the blanks. I have no idea. But
someone sent us their favorite song. Put your favorite song in the comments.
Yes. Yeah, please do that. Nick Drake is most popular, I think, for his song called Pink Moon. There's an album called Pink Moon. But my personal favorite album is Brighter Later, just for anyone who's concerned. And I think he's got a song called Northern Sky, and that's my personal favorite. Anyway, total sidebar. We also learn about Beth.
Beth is note about Beth.
Yes, she is, as Lane finds out, Dean's ex-girlfriend, who, of course, even though things ended okay and they're not together and she's elsewhere, she's back in Chicago, of course she becomes the immediate focus for Rory, because Rory is me and I always focus on the other girl, the one who is probably better. She must be prettier. She must be and then she immediately hates the name Beth. And, she's of no concern. She is not important.
Right.
Of course, the focus goes there. So,
yeah, like as 30-somethings, and maybe you're still this person, maybe not. But as you look back and you're watching it, you're like, Rory, Beth doesn't matter. Beth isn't in the picture anymore. Why is she, what's with this girl hate? It's okay. He likes you. He kissed you at the store. He didn't kiss Beth at the store.
I don't know. I wish I could explain that feeling, because it still comes up sometimes for me. I'll notice it, but it still comes up and I just go, and it's, I don't know, it's some kind of a, not competitive, but just like a
insecurity.
Yeah, it's insecurity. Definitely. Yeah. Especially for your first kiss person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I have it in the notes. It's like, why do girls have to feel so insecure about exes? They're exes for a reason. Like, it didn't work out. It didn't work out. So if he's kissing you at the store, girl, you're it. Like,
I don't know. I guess we just always expect that there's going to be. I think it's because they show an example of like something that at some point in time was what this guy wanted. And, you know, when you break up, they're not suddenly the worst person in the world. They're not suddenly all of his opposites, you know. You kind of look, you want to seek them out to sort of give evidence or to get some kind of information into like, well, what is he like? What works? And, you know, is she pretty? She's probably really, really pretty. And oh no, now he's doing a step down if he's after me. And you know, anything that'll play into this. Yeah, insecurity.
My biggest insecurity with the situation would be, did they only break up because he moved? Like, does he still love her? Yeah. Is he still pining after her? She's in Chicago. Like, was this just like they agreed to break up because they didn't want to do long distance, but they're still desperately in love with one another? So I can see that. Yeah, that's fine. But my initial reaction was like, no, Rory.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah,
it's
same.
you now, girl. Yeah. It's you.
Nevertheless, it's so fun to see Rory giggly and light for once. I feel like she's always having to be well behaved or she's like in stress out mode, but she's so giggly like almost all the way through this episode. It's great. It's so good.
Yeah. So she goes to meet Lorelai for her coffee break and she's like, we gotta go. It's so busy. Like the Horn of Plenty is almost full. And Lorelai tries this like weird roundabout way to get the information from Rory about the kiss. Rory does not even clue in at all to this.
I feel like if they'd been able to actually have lunch like they planned, apparently this was planned that they would actually have lunch, then it would have felt a bit easier to confront this subject right there, right here, right now, right? But because it turned out she was only able to be free for a couple of minutes, it's so much, it's speedier. It's like, okay, we're in a public place. We don't actually get the time to chat. And I feel like it could have been, had things gone to plan, then maybe, we're in our comfortable place. We're in the diner. Let's chat about it. We've got some time. But I think Lorelai does not quite recognize, or you know, she's so eager to still talk about it, even in the like 5 minutes that she has. You know, just okay. Well, let's get to it. Otherwise, what are we going to talk about? Actually, the way this scene opens, Lorelai is sitting alone at the table, staring out the window, and I wrote down she's doing a great Alfred Hitchcock. Just like staring out the window, observing her daughter at the table, like.
And she sees them chatting and being giddy and giggly, so she knows they're talking about the kiss. She knows it.
And Luke picks up on this, and he's like, "You look concerned." He's showing that, like, he picks up on people's energy and, you know, and their looks. So he's already done this with Rory before. You know, you look like you need pie. And Lorelai is just like, no, I'm not here. I'm not here to talk to you. She's like insistent, staring through the window. She's like, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. He goes, you don't look fine. You look concerned. And they have this, of course, back and forth. There's so much flirtation in their everyday conversation. It's wild to me. It's so, yeah.
But neither of them actually take it as flirting. Like, they both seem oblivious to the fact that they're flirting with one another.
Yeah.
We know. That's just their dynamic. And they're not realizing that it's their, like, intense chemistry. That's just who they are.
Even her little jokes that are intended to be as jokes and, like, little sort of write-off things for him. She says something like, you'd look great in one of those costumes. You know, you'd look great in one of those costumes. Referring to, of course, how he's not getting into the spirit. He's not getting festive. But that's what shuts him up. And you're like, okay, well, that's a compliment. That's a little flirty compliment. What's going on here?
And even the fact that he tells her not to sit on a cold bench, like, that means he's thinking about the fact that she's naked under that skirt.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. It's right out there in the open. After Rory leaves, Lorelai goes to scope out Dean at the grocery store.
Sneaks in the back.
And Luke is there. So you asked in one of the first episodes, does Luke ever leave the diner? This is our first non-diner Luke experience. He's at Dosey's. He's getting cream. And to me, this feels like when you see a teacher like out in public and you're like, oh my God, there you are.
Well, and he comes up by surprise as well. Like he catches Lorelai in the act of like spying on Dean. It's very strange.
I've got it.
He calls her out on it too.
Oh, yes, he does. Hey there.
Rory got kissed.
What?
Rory had her first kiss, and that guy did it.
Ah.
Yeah.
The new kid.
Yep. Oh, look at him. Look how smug he is.
He's bagging groceries. It's hard to be smug bagging groceries.
Oh, look how he just handled those lemons.
What are you talking about?
He threw them in the bag. Not tossed them or placed them, but threw them like they meant nothing to him.
They're lemons.
They're symbolic.
Okay, we need to get you out of here.
The lemons are not symbolic, Lorelai. Relax. There's no symbolic lemon happening here.
She needs to find something to criticize him about.
And
otherwise, he's too gentle and nice.
He did it. He's the one that kissed her. He did this to her. Like, that is so outrageous.
Luke and Lorelai take a little stroll
Yes, they
down
do.
the sidewalk.
It's very sweet. Yeah.
It's good. He gets her away from the fire. He's like, okay, we need to get out of here. And something I noticed is that he's so present and he's attentive and he's patient with her. Obviously, earlier in the episode, he's fired up and in the midst of like but yeah, he listens and he lets her get out her ridiculousness. But he's right there. He's paying attention. He's not just sort of walking next to her, kind of going, yeah, okay, let's just let her talk. Really, really, really sweet. Really nice. And he never gets his cream.
No, that's a good point. He probably gets back to the diner and is like, Lorelai.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, thwarted again by Lorelai Gilmore. Like, classic. He lets her talk. He does try to interject and he does try to like, and she doesn't let him. And then at the end of their conversation, he goes, so you've eliminated the need for like an actual human being to talk to? And she's like, yes. Mm-hmm. And he just like, he's fine with it. He likes their dynamic. They get home, I believe.
Yes, so now is the time for confronting.
Yeah, so Lorelai's like waiting at the window. Like she is waiting for this kid to get home. Tries to be all casual, goes to sit on the couch, opens up a book. Like she's just been reading the whole time. And then does the polar opposite of what she did in the diner. Instead of trying to dance around it, she just pops over Rory's shoulder. Kiss any good boys lately? Just goes for it.
Good though, because now like they're in their private space and she's had her time to blow up about it. You know, she's had her freak out at Luke. And she's seen Dean, so she's got like the visual, and maybe it's like an hour or two since that happened. I don't know, maybe more. But like, I think now it makes sense. They're in their home. Let's talk about it now. And let's do it the Lorelai way, which is just go in.
But then they get so awkward about it. So here we go.
Since this morning, you didn't think you were going to be able to keep it a secret, did you? You were making out in the market.
We weren't making out. It was just one kiss.
Yeah, well, by the time that gets to Miss Patty's, it's a scene from 9.5 weeks.
You've known all this time that Luke's here.
Yeah.
You could have said something.
Now, funny, I was going to say the same thing to you.
So?
Why is it like this? It doesn't need to be like this. Like, Rory immediately is like ashamed and uncomfortable, and Lorelai should be like, it's okay. Like, I want to hear about it. Like, she should be, but they're both just like feeling so weird about the whole thing. It doesn't need to be weird, you guys. The fact that she would have told you ever is great. Definitely didn't tell my mom or dad or anybody about my first kiss or anything. Like, you don't tell your parents these things. And the fact that, I don't know, the whole thing is just like, come on, man, both of you, snap out of it.
I do like that Lorelai makes it clear that like it's not that it happened that she has a problem with. She didn't love the way she found out, which was some weird back-ass way. Like, even if Lane had told her, then, you know, that would have been one thing. But it was Mrs. Kim. Like, what? like as an afterthought sort of thing. So I like that she does mention that. I didn't love the way I found out, but she really wants to talk about it. And it's going to be something that's important for Lorelai to talk about. Because as you mentioned, what was Lorelai doing at 16? She was pregnant, right? So teen Lorelai was a very, very different teen to teen Rory.
To me, I think it feels like Lorelai doesn't have any confidence in Rory in terms of, like, I know that Rory doesn't have a lot of experience with guys and that Rory herself doesn't necessarily have like a lot of confidence. But the fact that she's so worried and she's so like invested in it, instead of it just being like, ooh, I heard you kissed a boy, like, you know, and it being fun and easy and light, because it should be a fun and easy and light conversation. The fact that it's so weirdly heavy is so weird to me, because it's just a kiss. And it's
I don't know. I feel like I would sort of take the same route, because it's sort of I wonder, she would probably expect her to tell her about it straight away, and tell her Lorelai would expect Rory to tell her right away, and then she could sort of gauge, how does Rory feel about it? And I think because she didn't tell her straight away, then it's like, well, how do you feel about it? I don't know how to continue with this. Like, was it frightening for you? Was it fun? Like, is it a big deal for you as much as it wasn't for me? Or like, what? I feel like she wanted to know how to proceed. And if Rory was any other way, or if Rory was any more like Lorelai was as a teenager, she might be a bit more like expecting her to sort of, oh, hey, I just had my first kiss and it was great and it was exciting and blah. But I don't know. I think her concern is a bit more with like, how does Rory feel about this and how has it affected her? Because she doesn't know.
I guess to me, it's just because it's like such a non-issue in like so many people's lives, that the fact that everybody's like weirdly sulking over the fact that it like happened and like it had to tell people and didn't tell people, and like there's just like way too much drama around something that, yes, when it's your first kiss, it's like in like it has a lot of meaning. It can have a lot of meaning, but it's not like she slept with him. Like it was a peck at the grocery store, and people are like having like mini tantrums and like little like crazies about like a peck on the mouth.
Well, I think it just shows how the community sees Rory. Just the other week they were celebrating her birthday, and all the stories, of course, were of her as a tiny tot. So like her neighbors remember her making, jumping into fairy rings and like making sandwiches for the fairies and stuff. Later that evening, I believe, they are going to get food for dinner, as in their movie night. But it's clear that Rory is not fine with this. And they are making their way to the market to pick up their goodies, which is going to be hella junk food and all the worst things you could possibly imagine, which at 16 or 17, I was totally okay with just like gorging myself on like chocolate and candy and sweets and whatever. But Lorelai is in her 30s. How can she get away? Like, I would make myself sick after like one chocolate bar by now. It's rough. But Lorelai assures her that, even though they're going into Dean's establishment, that she will be cool. She says, You will mistake me for Shaft. And you know what? She is cool all the way
she
through.
Plays it.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. She's supportive and she's casual. And one of the first things she says to Dean is, nice apron, which incidentally is the same thing that Rory said earlier this episode.
Yep. Like mother, like daughter. We did it. And they feel like you've made it out unscathed. And then they have to split up because she's going to
get the
movie.
Coffee.
Yes.
Rory gets the movie. Yeah.
Dean comes out of the store
because they forgot their red vines.
Can't have a Willy Wonka night without red vines, because they're watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and they bring that up in the store. And it's Gene Wilder who's in it, but they said it was a different Gene. Like, it's with Gene Hackman, right? And he's like, no, Wilder. That immediately, I think, plants the seed in Lorelai's head And
You're
then
a Wonka fan?
had that interaction not happened, maybe this wouldn't have happened. They bump into one another again outside, and Lorelai invites Dean to movie night. And right off, you see Dean is like, oh, okay. I think he doesn't want to seem impolite. He just met Rory's mom. He doesn't want to say no to her, but he doesn't seem super keen.
She does it very casually, though. Very casually.
Lorelai is all proud of herself. She's like, oh, I invited your friend to movie night. Your friend Dean. And Rory blows a gasket. She gets so upset, which I think I would too. Maybe not quite like that, but like Rory is mortified.
I'm sorry. I thought you would be happy about this.
In what universe would I be happy? This isn't Amish country. Girls and boys usually date alone.
I don't think of it as a date. I thought of it more as a hanging out kind of session.
Well, I don't want our first hanging out session to be with my mother either.
Stop saying mother like that.
Like what?
Like there's supposed to be another word after it.
I love that. Made me think of my mom, because whenever we were annoyed with my mom, we would call her mother, and she just hated it. So, yeah, I get where she's coming from there. And I like that Rory immediately is like, she's thinking about it in the context of a date and dating, because she likes him so much and she's so into this guy. And it's like the first time that she's been like super into this guy. And like Lorelai just doesn't really register that like that's where her head is at. She's like, what? This is like super casual. It's just like someone you met, like whatever. And she's not thinking of it as like a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Well, because I wonder, like, for teen Lorelai, would this have been wanted? Like, would it have been normal for like a boy she just kissed and is nervous around? You know, like, would she have felt nervous around that? I don't know. Like, and I feel like Lorelai is really trying to force the casualness upon this. But Rory is not ready. She is not cool with like casual. She's not there yet. They're almost. She's trying, but
Yeah.
And yeah, for Lorelai, she's just like, no, it's a hangout session, because it's not meant to be a date. But
no, not at all. And so, as a first-time viewer watching the show, Lorelai invites Dean. So before she even tells Rory, what was your gut reaction when Lorelai invited Dean to movie night?
I was, almost the same level of mortified. Just like, no, he belongs in this space. We belong in this space. There will come a time eventually, many years from now, where they can cross over, but no.
And Rory gets into that too, because she's like, it's movie night. It's supposed to be like, you know, like sweatpants and jammies or like disgusting food and like, I want to be comfy. It's not supposed to be like, now I have to look pretty and like pick clothes. And like, so she starts freaking out about how there's just like this dramatic shift of like the vibe, and Lorelai is like forcing this like casual vibe. And she's like, no, what are you talking about? And she's like, you don't get it. And then my first thought before Rory even got into here is like, she's so much more like her mother than she thinks she is.
Yes, because the as soon as there's a mention of Emily in this scene, that's what breaks Lorelai. That and she realizes what's happening.
He's the boy that I like.
I know. I looked for one that you hated, but it was really short notice.
And now he's forced to come over and sit with me and my mother and eat crap and watch a movie?
Well, I just invited a friend of yours to hang out. What's the big deal? I mean, what if Lane had done it?
You're not Lane. You're my mother. You inviting him over is like grandma inviting a guy you liked over.
You're comparing me to my mother?
But that's like exactly what she would have done. They both have this sense of like entitlement over the lives of the people that they're, you know, in charge of, without much thought for how they would actually feel about it rather than how they feel about it.
Yeah. I think Lorelai is so determined to show that she's cool with Rory dating that she's not considering how it's actually affecting Rory. She's just seeing like, she's going overkill. She's so concerned with showing that, like, I'm okay with this. I'm cool, Mom. I'm totally different. No, you're not.
Yep, but she's pulling the exact same kind of stunt that her mom would pull. Maybe the motives are different, but the outcome is the same. And that still comes from like the upbringing and influence, I think, of Emily being like, well, I think it's fine, so why don't you think it's fine?
Yeah.
And so part 3 of this clip, this is the last one that I have from this scene.
Look, I'll go. I'll uninvite him. I'll tell him that it's canceled on account of I just found out that I'm my mother and I have to go into intensive therapy right now.
Rory kind of immediately tries to backtrack where she's like, no, like you're not. And she's like, oh, but you just said, like, I'm being with my mom. She's like, I didn't mean it like that. But the fact that like she had to say it at all means there's some truth to it.
We get Lorelai being cool Lorelai again in the very next scene. As
I
Rory,
love this.
now that it's a date and it matters, she needs to choose an outfit.
And Rory has all of her different clothes on the bed, and she just doesn't know what to wear. And Lorelai, bless her, is very fashionable and comfortable in the world of clothes, where we don't necessarily get the sense that Rory is. Like, she's happy to have a uniform at Chilton. Like, she's not the fashionable one, right? And Lorelai comes in and it's like, this says, like, I'm cute, I'm casual, I just threw this on, but it looks so, but it looks like knockout on me. I love this dynamic between them because Rory's letting her help and she's actually taking her advice and she's listening and she's like attentive about it, and she's acknowledging that like this is a realm where maybe Lorelai knows what she's doing. She says, like, I don't do boys. Like, you're always so easy with the men, and I see you talking to guys, and it comes so easily to you.
Yeah.
And I think back to, I would never have that conversation with my mom. Or any, like, maternal figure. I don't think. I mean, none of them are Lorelai Gilmore. I don't think I would be able to have, like a fully genuine conversation like that with an adult when I was 16. Like, it would be friends, maybe an older sister, which is, I think, the relationship or the dynamic that they're trying to develop here is for the viewers, is that it's more of a sisterhood than a mother-daughter. But if my parents or if my mom had been like, you should wear this because of that, I'd be like, I am wearing the opposite of what you just told me to do. Like, there's absolutely no way.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think we're now getting a better example of Lorelai showing how okay she really is with Rory dating and boys. Because now she's not just saying like, oh, well, let's invite him over. She's now being like, okay, well, I'm going to be supportive and helpful. I'm going to ask if you want my help, let you choose if you want my help, and then I'm going to offer it because this is something I'm comfortable with. This is where you could use my help. She doesn't just say, all right, kiddo, well, you're on your own. See you later,
And so they're getting ready, and then they're like, he's late, and they're waiting for him, and then they peek out the window, and so Dean has been outside with Babette for half an hour, and she's just been yakking his ear off, and he's
been trapped by Babette and Maury. He's clearly uncomfortable, but bless him, he's got manners and he won't just abandon them. Maury calling from the window, stay cool, kid. I feel like they would actually get on, if they had the time, if Dean wasn't about to, hang out for movie night, then, I feel like they'd have a lot of music in common. They might get on. But Lorelai very cleverly rescues him and manages to send him indoors, get him gone and safe. But we learn that Babette approves, very, very strongly approves. She insinuates that news is spreading throughout the town. Everyone's finding out. And she becomes one of those people who have shown up many times in my life who they jump on the excitement and the fantasy train of they sort of get this vicarious joy through someone else's exciting news. But she says that thing that I hate so much, which is, invite us to the wedding. Oh, their kids are going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, you're going to have such my babies. Oh my God. What if they don't want to have babies? First of all. Also, they had one little smooch at the grocery store. Also, they're 16. Don't talk to her about babies.
That's Lorelai at the end of this scene after the thing of their kids are going to be gorgeous. Lorelai's like, God, I hope not.
Yep.
No,
like, I'm not ready for
We're not talking about kids. We're about to go watch Willy Wonka and gorge ourselves on candy.
So they go inside and they're getting the tour of the house. It's very uncomfortable. The doorbell rings. So Rory continues the tour. They go into her room and she has like a stuffed chicken, which I think is very cute.
I love this scene, actually. I think this scene was so clever. So we've just had the awkward house tour. Lorelai's trying to like fill the silence with small talk and something trying to keep it still very casual. It's really awkward. So the three of them together, there's a weird kind of energy. But when it's Lorelai and Rory speaking, they're sort of back to their okay. All right, yeah, like their dynamic is completely different to Lorelai and Dean. And then when it's just Rory and Dean left on their own, they're, it's not awkward anymore. It's only as awkward as they left it, which is, by this point, they're a bit more casual, a bit more comfortable. Like his face relaxed. It's like there's a visible relaxation in his face that is just like, okay, now I can just talk to you. I don't have to be like stranger guest mode. And so when he goes into her room, he asks, what's behind this door? That's her room. He immediately goes to the stereo and picks up a Nick Drake CD. And Rory doesn't follow him in. She's observing him from the door frame, which I think is such a realistic thing of like, there's a boy in my room. There's a person who does not actually belong in this space. If I step beyond this doorway, beyond this threshold, then suddenly we're in my room together.
Yeah,
she needs to let it sink in first that like this is him in my space.
It's too vulnerable.
Yeah, she needs to like keep the distance because otherwise it's them in there together. Yeah, it's like she's trying to get her head around this concept of him in her space. And he notices this. He's like, are you gonna come in? And she's almost cool with her explanation. She's like, I hardly ever stand here. The room looks so different from here. And it's true because suddenly you see all of your familiar things in your room in a new way. Like suddenly it's the embarrassing things start to stand out, or they'll like, oh, I didn't put that away, or like, oh my God, there's my bra. Like, otherwise you wouldn't notice. But it's just such a really real and very relatable scene, I think, anyway, you're still sort of dealing with the butterflies and bless him, he's so great. He even asks like, would you like me to get out of here? Like, is this uncomfortable for you?
And so they're in the room because the doorbell rang and they're like, oh, it's the pizza, but it's not the pizza. It's Suki.
Suki. Making her first appearance of the episode, I think.
Everybody wants to get a glimpse. Everybody wants to see Dean. It's Rory's first kind of beau. And so Suki comes and Lorelai is like, she's going to think I invited you. You need to leave. Like, I'm not parading him around. I already messed up by like having this night happen at all. Like, I'm not going to get in any more shit with my kid. You need to go. And she accidentally grabs the pizza because the pizza boy also comes at the same time. And Suki came under the pretense of bringing cupcakes. And so Lorelai, like, I need to have something in my hands from having been to the door. And they both just base on the fact that Suki has the pizza, Lorelai has the cupcakes. They come out and they're like, where's the pizza? And then Suki just comes in like, oh, you got your pizza right here. They're just like, hi, Dean. Oh, I don't know. You just look like a Dean. Don't you look like a Dean? I think
out of all the people in this room, he's the one who looks most like a Dean. Lorelai is trying so hard to keep it not weird, and she knows that Suki is stalling, and just like she's trying so hard, and she's doing a really good job covering, I think, until she isn't, and then she's found out, and Rory is still weirded out at the end of this scene. Like, she tried so hard. Dean says, "Thank God there's good pizza here," which got me thinking, isn't he from Chicago? And isn't Chicago known for pizza?
Yes, exactly.
And so at first I was like, have you not had good pizza? But no, it makes perfect sense because if he's coming from Chicago, and he is used to good pizza. So thank God there's good pizza in Stars Hollow as well. It took me a while to actually get my head around that. I'm just like, what are you talking about? And they all take a bite of the pizza at the same time, and it's such a good. It's so good. It brings the chaos to just like a sudden calm. It's like I wrote down that it's a great synchronized equalizing moment, because now they can all shut up and eat the pizza. You know, they all got something in their mouths. They're all, you know, they can just focus on something else, and it's just you can breathe all of a sudden.
So Lorelai during the movie excuses herself to go make popcorn, as if they don't have enough stuff on the table. Lorelai excuses herself and doesn't come back. And this scene to me was the most like the memories of being young and on a date and watching a movie with a guy, and the moment where they're like looking and then looking away because the other person looks, that moment of just like looking back and forth and never making the eye contact, but always just kind of like watching, like, oh, I can't let them see me watching. And then the other person's doing it back to you. Dean snaps Rory out of that cycle and she bolts. She panics and runs back to the kitchen where she confronts Lorelai. Like, she's like, what are you doing? Why haven't you come back? Like, I need you. And Lorelai's like, well, I'm trying to be a girlfriend. And I have this scene here. And I think this is really sweet and really good because this just shows Rory's inexperience, but also that she does need her mom for this life experience. Whereas, like I was saying, and I've been saying the whole time, like the majority of people do not want their parents involved in any element of this aspect of their lives. But Rory is a completely different type of teenager.
You said thank you?
When he kissed me.
Wait, he kissed you again? What, is he just out of prison or something?
No, not now. Yesterday at the store.
Oh, all right. Strike the prison comment. So wait, he kissed you and you said thank you?
Yes.
Well, that was very polite.
No, it was stupid. And I don't know what I'm doing here. You're sitting in the kitchen. What kind of chaperone are you?
Hey, I'm not trying to be a chaperone. I'm trying to be a girlfriend.
Well, switch gears, because I'm freaking out here.
I love that so much.
The fact that she's like able to talk to her mom about it, to be able to confide in her and be like, I need somebody to take the like romantic tension out of that room. I need you, mom. Don't be a girlfriend, be my mom. Go supervise. Like
And Lorelai has a great line in that scene where so Rory's just, you know, obviously just said how much she's freaking out and like her nerves from the weird thank you thing, they're all back. And she's like, I don't want to do something moronic. And Lorelai says, well, once your heart's involved, it all comes out in moron.
Yeah.
Such a good idea. But like, okay, can we just go back just for a minute or two to exactly this feeling of Rory being left alone with Dean in the room. So they were like well into the movie watching by this point, and he's grabbed a cushion for her to make her a bit more comfortable. And yeah, she's looking at him, she's like contemplating his profile, and he does kind of catch her at one point, and he does these quick eyebrows, hey, and like, no, oh my god, she's been found out. And that, I think, is what prompts her to escape to the kitchen, and like, because he's been physically moving closer to her, and like, gosh, this scene was so well constructed, and like, it just, the performances are so good. However, why are they all wearing shoes indoors?
I also noticed that. I hate it.
I hate that.
I think it's an American thing. Maybe. I could be mistaken, but
Americans chime in. What's going on?
He's like teasing her. Like, he knows that she's looking at him.
Yeah.
And he's just being like,
I love it and I hate it because it makes me so uncomfortable, but it's also like, it's wanted, right? Because suddenly, like, obviously, we are all Rory in that moment, right? Like, we're like, oh god, he's flirting with us too. Like, ah! And I get like physically uncomfortable and frightened of those moments, but also I want them, but I don't, but I want, but this is my weird personal experience with like flirtation and any kind of like suggestive anything. That this, my reaction is typically fear, but also attraction, you know? Ugh. And so I this scene made me feel very strange things.
And then there's me, and then he says, hey, I'm like, kiss him. Go for it. Do it. Yes, girl.
No, I would have run away. I'd have gone upstairs and not shown up for the rest of the evening.
I would have been like, my mom is gone. It is go time. Like, we are part 2. It is the kiss, the sequel. Let's go.
So Lorelai is on her way back from the kitchen at the insistence of Rory. But Rory's not okay with going back in there because, like, oh my God, then he'll think that I like came to get you. And so you go in and I'm going to go and tell him I'm like washing my face or something. So suddenly we're, again, like I mentioned, there's a weird dynamic between the pairs. So this time it's Lorelai and Dean together in the room, which is unusual. They haven't yet been, well, other than the invitation to movie night, they haven't yet been just the two of them together. While this scene is happening, they're watching one of the weirder scenes in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Like, it's one of the most uncomfortable scenes where he's actually going like really psycho and we don't know. It's a weird scene. It's one of the weirder parts. But Lorelai, I think I really like her in this scene. She's very complex. She's being the mom, almost a mom role for both of them, and a friend right now. She's almost strict, but not quite terrifying. She's
threatening without it being too scary. Like you take her seriously because she is coming at him with the like wrath of the town should any type of emotional damage befall her Rory.
Yeah. Well, she tells him, she says, sweetheart, the whole town is watching you. And you're almost thinking like, is this going to scare him off? I was nervous. Is it going to scare him off? But brave old Dean here goes, is it my turn to speak? Politely. My turn to speak. And he lets us all know that he fully recognizes the importance of Lorelai to Rory. He knows how much that Rory respects her and turns to her mom. Huge respect, but he's not going anywhere. And I like that by the end of this scene, Lorelai doesn't give it all away, being like, "Yeah, I like you. Okay, you're great." She says, "I want to like you." Yeah, she's not there yet. She doesn't hate him. She's concerned, as Luke pointed out earlier. And honestly, she probably hasn't made her mind up yet. So
no, she hasn't really had enough opportunity. All she knows is that he works at the store and that Rory has an interest in him. And like, that's it. That's all she's got. Like, she doesn't know anything about his character, his personality, like nothing. So she's not immediately going into it saying, oh, I don't like this kid. He's not going to be any good for my daughter. Like, but she's also not immediately on board either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we get just a little bit, I felt, of insolence from Dean. Just like a little, like just enough to like give him the confidence to like able to respond to her in a way that feels confident. Like you still get a bit of the like, I'm a teenager and I will do what I want kind of thing. It started just enough, I think, to make it almost believable. Like he just doesn't like go into himself and say, oh, okay, Miss Gilmore, nothing like that. It still has like a bit of a chip of like a bit of that teenage chip there.
Yeah, I wonder, because we don't know anything else about him. We know about his friend Todd, but we don't know anything about his family. We know that he's been in a relationship before. How did that go? And I wonder, are we going to find out anything more about his backstory? Or is he going to be mystery man, outsider guy? Because he's still outsider. And I wonder, I want to know how the rest of the town treats him or continues to treat him. Like, okay, now you're not just an outsider, but you are now attached to our Rory? What? Okay.
And like even Luke says that. He's like, oh, the new guy. Like they know that he is the new guy. Everybody's aware of him because he's somebody who moved in and there's such a small town and he works at the grocery store. And who's that guy working at the grocery store? Like, so everybody is aware of him. And now suddenly he's involved with our beloved Rory.
Rory and Dean are on the porch.
Yes.
Alone at last. And it's very, very brief. There's not a whole lot of words in this one. But he says, tell your mom thanks for movie night. And they have a really nice kiss.
And he says,
Lol.
Yeah. I'm so happy
And,
that he kind of teased her about it. Like, he's good at rolling with her discomfort and not taking it personally and making it light. Like, he doesn't fuss over her being like, oh, I know you're uncomfortable. Like, and he doesn't make her feel bad for being uncomfortable. He just makes it
it's a nice level of teasing. And the whole episode wraps up with Lorelai in full-on tired parent mode, because it's been a day for them. She's flat on the bed. Rory joins her and adopts the same pose, which is so sweet. Just like the elbow over the head and just kind of, okay. Pensive. They both appear to be pensive. Rory eventually gets up to leave. Okay, this is just going to be an all right. Good night, sweetheart. See ya. But she stops. And Lorelai reiterates that she really wishes that she'd heard about the kiss in some other way, like directly from her.
And she still really hadn't heard the details at that point, right? Like, she knows it happened. Yeah. She knows where it happened. But she's just like, I just wish I'd heard about it. You know, like because Rory asks if she's like, Mom, like, are you okay?
Rory reveals that she was scared, which... yeah, fair enough. I don't know how my mom's going to react. And she was scared from the kiss as well. Like, what does that mean about her? Like, she didn't plan this. Wah! And Lorelai, bless her heart, she says, I'm not mad. I just really wanted to hear about it. That's so important, I think, for her to know, for Rory to know that she's not mad. Like, I'm not punishing you. None of this has been punishment. You haven't done something that I don't approve of. I just really wanted to hear about it. They're making their plan for bed. They're heading off for bed. Just kidding. Rory is ready to spill. And so she jumps onto the bed and suddenly they're girlfriends again. You know, it's giggly and it's something aisle. Like, good aisle. I really, really nicely wrapped up episode, I think. So much fun.
And so, like, that's the reaction that both of them wanted from the get-go, but then neither of them were able to, like, bring themselves to that point. But Lorelai could have easily brought her around faster.
I think so,
like,
too.
Lorelai's reaction and Lorelai's hurt and confusion over, like, how to handle the situation could have, if she had been able to just, like, rally from that and, like, so I heard about this kiss. Tell me about it. Like, if she had come to it with excitement and enthusiasm and, like, wanting to know so that right off the bat, Rory knew it was safe, they wouldn't have been that awkward and uncomfortable and, like,
no.
That's it. Because if she assumes that Rory would have told her, she knows that she's been keeping Jane a secret. That means Rory doesn't feel safe or comfortable talking about it. So she doesn't expect to have to parent Rory. She expects Rory to just be, like, already self-taught and comfortable and having to, like, know everything already. And so she just expects Rory to have all of the tools that she needs and that her job is done. But also not at all, because she expects that Rory can't handle anything in this realm at all and that she has to be concerned about what's going on. It's right. Like a little hypocritical.
Parenting. I don't envy you.
All right. Well, that's us, I think.
This has been a long one, but I feel like we had a lot to cover.
Yeah, this is a great episode.
Right. So we have been the Belladonna Watch Club. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Catch us next week here on YouTube or wherever you stream your podcasts. We are now on, I think, Apple Podcasts, definitely Spotify, Google Podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us. I've been Jenny. She's been Lisa. And we'll see you next week.
Toodaloo.
Bye.